Hello and welcome to Eastenders Weekly, your weekly podcast all about Eastenders. This week we'll be discussing episodes from the 16th to the 20th of April. I'm Ben, and we're here in a very hot studio with Alex.
Yes, it is a bit hot.
Bit of a heat wave this week.
It has been a heat wave, hasn't it? It's been lovely weather. It's just a shame that the window's broken and we can't do anything about it.
And the heating's broken.
Well, we don't want any heating though. It's not. Anyway, that's the first world problems being described on the podcast. I mean,
there's people in Wolford with much bigger problems this week.
There really have been. Let's have a quick listen and have a sneaky peek of what's been going on.
Worms, Matt. In your brain.
Kind of been here before, haven't we?
Neurocystic sarcosis.
Not very hygienic.
I can't do this no more. We've all got our vices.
Vices?
I ain't put my foot in it, have I?
Like father, like son.
Meaning?
What are you playing at?
Haven't you ever said something you regret the minute it falls out your big gob?
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
I'm just haunting the place.
Telekinetic.
Pineapple fell on your head.
Another little accident. Look at me. Touch me.
Resistance is futile.
Said the spider to the fly.
I'll tell you what does it for me, Sonia.
I don't know.
Spit it out.
Guaranteed satisfaction every time.
Saggy boobs for a bra.
If we do this, there's not going to be any tea.
Dirty old skank.
But it leaves you with a bigger one. Well, we've got a problem.
Gross and tacky.
Don't push me, Phil.
With something cold and hard.
We've run out of sprinkles.
Can't see anyone.
Lies have a nasty habit of catching you out.
These people are like elephants.
There we have it. So there we go. So there's us complaining in our little shell, and they've had a much harder
what
time.
A week. So this week we've said goodbye to two of our main cast members.
Yes, I know. It's you think if you would say out loud, we've basically said goodbye to two. Well, one main cast member, one probably Beeline cast member. You think, wow, what a week. But in actual fact, this week has been pretty dull. It's not been a very exciting week
it's
at all.
All over the place, isn't it?
Well, there's been no long storyline going all throughout the week particularly, or if there has been, it's just kind of been ducked in and out of. Nothing's really been very secure or solid this week.
Yeah. I mean, shall we start off with Michelle, because she got a lovely Tuesday episode exit.
Yes, in style.
Yeah.
But she didn't even get the end, did she? But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, the beginning of Monday, she decides that she's going to convince Mel that she does want that job, being a tutor to Hunter.
She's fed up of fitting bras.
Well, she is,
in her
measuring breast sizes and cup sizes for saggy old women or her department. So the question that's been up in the air for about 2 weeks, that we've kind of dipped in and out of every now and then, whether she still has that job at the department store.
Yeah.
Yes, she does
She
still
does,
have that
apparently.
job.
That could have been a little storyline, but they decided not to.
But the storyline with that, there was two storylines, wasn't there? The first one was that when she first got the job and you saw her kind of fitting in and she started to feel like she was part of of a team, and then she had the stalker storyline, and then they both just got drawn a line
which
under.
Which is a shame. That stalker storyline could have gone.
It could have gone
somewhere.
a lot further, but that's if they had more confidence in the character, which obviously they decided they didn't.
So her leaving storyline was her tutoring Hunter, and then obviously she walked in on Hunter and Louise under a duvet, doing unknown things.
Well, yes. So she went into to speak to Mel after Phil said that if she did go for the job, then she would be turfed out onto the street.
I know, I thought that was so ridiculous.
Well, he's just making his authority known, isn't he, around the house?
Yeah.
And she basically said to Mel, after CCTV Gate, would you still like us to have this agreement where I'll be looking up teaching?
Because she said
Hunter.
to Mel, because Phil's not too happy with it, and that made Mel think, oh, then yeah, I do want you to be a teacher just to annoy Phil.
Just want to wind Phil up a little bit more.
Fair enough.
Which, well, again, at the end, she probably regretted. And so after having a conversation with Hunter saying that you straight after school you're going to have to come back here and you're going to have an extra couple of hours of lessons with Michelle. Hunter didn't seem very interested and said he was going back to bed. So whether we went to school at all was questionable. So she gave her a set of keys so she could, which she just so happened to have in a drawer.
Because she said, he might still be in bed, so wake him up.
Yeah,
she was asking for this.
She was asking for trouble, wasn't she? She was asking for this scenario to happen. And so she let herself into Mel's house, and lo and behold, in the living room under a duvet, there was almost like a Carry-On style romp happening on the settee.
Yes. And Louise was very shocked. She got straight up. Did you notice how short Louise's skirt was? That's the first thing I noticed.
I don't think she was wearing a skirt when she was underneath the duvet.
The next, obviously they wouldn't show that, but yeah, it was very short school skirt, I thought.
Well, I think she skipped school as well, didn't she? I don't think she was in school uniform, was she? I think it was just everyday work. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pay attention to the important things.
What? How short the
you can tell it's been an
girls-
interesting week.
Yeah.
So obviously she didn't want Michelle to tell Phil or Mel that she'd seen them do this, and then Hunter straight away went on to try and threaten Michelle.
Well, Michelle had said that she just couldn't do it, and she'd said that she didn't want to do it to Mel, and she said that to Hunter, and there was no hint really showing that she was going to release the reason for why. She just said it just wasn't going to work out. So why Hunter then gave this kind of this lie that Michelle had tried something with him was a bit confusing really to me, because I think that Michelle, okay, this is something they learnt later, she kind of compared it to when she was younger and she had become pregnant and she was a very scared 16, 17-year-old when she became pregnant from Den, which is obviously Sharon's father.
Not her real father.
Not her real father.
That got rewritten.
and so you learnt that really she did sympathise a little bit with the situation that Hunter and Louise had found themselves in, that they seemed to like each other or love each other. But again, you've got hints this week that perhaps Hunter isn't as keen on Louise as Louise is keen on Hunter, because
definitely not.
Well, when they first got found out, and Louise was desperately phoning Michelle and Sharon to find out whether any information had been shared between them or with Mel, Hunter didn't seem particularly very interested.
He was playing his video game, wasn't he?
He's off on his Xbox, and he didn't seem very interested at all in whether the information got leaked. Again, reckon that was to wind Phil up further, knowing that would be...
Yeah, he probably doesn't care if the information gets to Phil, does he? It's probably what he wants. That's probably why he did it so obviously, knowing that Michelle was coming round.
Well, no, I don't. But he didn't know that she had a key. That wasn't given. That wasn't presented in front of him.
No, you don't know what Mel said to him off screen. Mum of the year. So, what Hunter's actually done is said to Mel that Michelle tried to kiss him.
Which,
as his
more than that, I think he insinuated that she tried a few moves on him and his young, supple body, and he wanted. And
she's got form, hasn't she?
Well, she has got form, and that's why, sadly, it got blown out of proportion because a lot of people believed Hunter, as it has happened before.
Yeah, because a few times Michelle tried to explain herself, but every single time she seems to be interrupted by people knocking at the door.
Yes.
Or Louise coming in for a cup of tea. So.
Well, I mean, when she first said to Mel that she didn't think that it was going to work out with her and Hunter, I think she just presumed, because like I say, she never really said for why. She just said it's not going to work out. Here's your keys, and good luck with finding someone for Hunter. It's just not gonna gel with me and him. So really, that's why I say it led for nothing. Hunter didn't really need to lie. I suppose he didn't know.
Hunter gets off online.
But he does get off online, but also I suppose he didn't really know, and he was trying to make sure that Louise was still on his side. So perhaps, but then that kind of made a bit of a rift between him and Louise too, because Louise was very upset that he'd made this lie about Michelle and kept apologising on his behalf to Michelle, which led to Michelle kind of talking to her and explaining to her that lies can get out of hand, and sometimes lies will get you in more trouble further down the line.
Yeah, that was the scene when they were talking on the bench, weren't they? Together.
Yeah.
And she said something along the lines of like, around here, lies and things seem to stick.
Yeah, lies stick, and they will come back to you when you least expect it, and they'll haunt you, which obviously ultimately led to Michelle's exit a little bit later on.
Yeah. When she said that about how lies tend to stick around this area, and also later in the week, Mel says something about there's a lot of ghosts around here for everyone. That made me think of, do you think that there's a bit of an issue with too many long-lasting characters on the square. Because a few weeks ago when the Slaters came back, there was that big argument in the Vic, and every single character had an answer for how 3 people faked to death. And it sort of makes me think like, well, every single storyline can sort of be just written out or ended by people saying, well, you faked your death or you murdered so-and-so.
As in, it's happened once already to you.
It's a bit of a trouble because they're all such long-lasting characters. It's a bit... things like that a bit tricky. I mean,
there's no... I don't know... Again, I can't speak for other soaps necessarily, but the carousel of characters in EastEnders tends to be a very slow one. Characters... I mean, this is why the last 2-3 years they seemed to be introducing characters a lot more regularly, and that kind of added a bit more fresh blood to the soap. One thing which is one of my biggest bugbears, especially with EastEnders, is that they tend to rely too heavily on bringing back characters or families that were popular back in the day, thinking that, okay, we're having a bit of a lull in ratings or viewingship.
Yeah,
let's bring this family in just to kickstart it again, which is why a few weeks back, just before the Slaters had been introduced, I had my reservations about it, and I was quite open about that too. I have to say, I fully put my hand up and admit that actually I think what they did with the Slaters and have been doing the Slaters has been quite good. It's slowed down a lot this week, but we will discuss the Slaters in a minute. But that is, I agree with you. I think that sometimes when something's very long running and the characters are the same throughout this long running, sometimes you're going to get a copy and paste scenario. So you're going to have that storyline, copy paste, we'll do it again 5 years down the line, but because the character that did it 5 years down the line is still there,
it can just be easily written off by saying, well, you murdered blah blah.
It's already happened.
It's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, it's like, do you not reference past storylines quite as much, but then
but that's all
faults the writing as well, doesn't
that's
it?
The thing, and also that's one of the writing styles of, and the styles of EastEnders, I should say, not necessarily just the writing, but the whole legacy of EastEnders. You know, this fictitious place, Albert Square, is all about these families that all live together. And so, you know, the Beales have been in it since day one. There's always been a Beale on Albert Square.
They're running low now, though, aren't they? The Beales?
They are running low on Beales. There's some in the wings that can come back, but at the moment, they're running a bit low on the Beales. But you know, the Mitchells, they've been in it since the early 90s. There's always been a Mitchell of some sort, and doesn't show any sign of dying out, because even Dennis, although he's not a Mitchell by blood, he's still considered, and I reckon in 5-10 years time, because I get the impression on social media that Dennis is quite a popular character.
I know, I've seen that. It's really odd, isn't it?
Especially with the younger
people are crying out for more Dennis, and they're just not getting it.
People just want
We've
Dennis.
Also got another Mitchell, Denise's baby that she put up for adoption for the future.
Exactly. So that's
the Mitchells are strong.
The Mitchells are strong,
whereas the Fowlers aren't, because Michelle Fowler had her lovely exit of a black cab, didn't she?
Well, yeah. So
exciting times.
Yeah. So going back onto Michelle's exit.
We forgot about Michelle. Let's go back.
We did, but it's a very good question you posed. But yeah. So with Michelle, after it had been admitted by Hunter that he had lied because Mel saw through him, and again referenced Steve, said to him that, you know,
she tried a few times, didn't she, to get him to admit, because she knew he was lying, but he wouldn't do it. And then the second, like you just said, she referenced his dad.
Yeah, and said to him, like, you're nothing like your father. And he was, what do you mean? And well, you're a bad liar. So I don't know if that's going to be, again, is that a challenge for Hunter? For Hunter now to get better at trying to fool his mum? Yeah. Because I mean, he's getting his... Last week we were talking about, like, Hunter getting people on his side, so to slowly knock notches out of Phil Mitchell, which is obviously seems to be still his ultimate plan. We discussed ways he might be doing it, maybe through Lisa and Mel and Sharon. I mean, Sharon and Mel became very close this week as well.
Yeah, they had a few scenes, didn't they?
They
in
did. Well,
the
once
club.
Michelle had basically spoken to Sharon and again referenced the ghost, and she said that she just felt like a bit of a spare part.
Turning into Pauline.
Turning
It's
into-
never good for anyone.
Yes, especially when Martin tells her that she's
Oh.
turning into Pauline. You're in a lot of trouble.
Not get anyone to go travelling, wouldn't it?
No, it would. And so basically she just realised that her future wasn't really in the square because she felt that she was always going to be remembered as that woman who lost her job from sleeping with an underage boy.
Ish.
Which is a strange storyline to get introduced with anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, comeback of Michelle was kind of doomed from the second she was recast, I think, which was obviously nothing. It's not Jenna Russell's fault because she's a really well-known actress, but yeah, it wasn't the best. I mean, she wasn't received well, and
No.
Michelle was a bit soppy, wasn't she?
She was a bit soppy, but she did get better. Like when she first got
Yeah.
introduced, they kind of tried to get her introduced as with the Slaters because she's lived with Martin for a little bit.
But even then, she was I remember when she got introduced, you kept saying she's like the new Pauline. Like she kept turning down the thermometer in Stacey's house, and it's just like, ugh.
like she ruled the
Really?
roost, and then just would have a go at people, and you kind of thought she had a bit of a drinking problem because she was drinking the house dry quite often.
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
In Wolford.
Well, in
When
Wolford,
Sharon's your best friend.
Wait, exactly. If you learn from the best. And once that happened, she then became a very isolated character. I think it was written that way on purpose, but I think when you don't interact, especially a character, whether it's a brand new character or reintroducing a character into the flow of things. Well, look at Ted and Karen. Ted and Joyce. Yes, Ted and Joyce. When they got introduced, they weren't introduced with anyone. They were kept really out the way of everyone.
Yeah.
And when they did then try to intertwine them with stories, it just didn't work
forced,
out.
didn't it?
It felt forced. So really, yes, Michelle was doomed from the start, and they kind of referenced it when she did her exit because she said, I'm just not part of the fabric here. And if I became part of the fabric, I would wake up every morning. So every morning just wishing I wasn't, feeling the same. So said to Sharon, don't try to convince me I'm going. And so then they had a hug, had a little hug.
And Sharon like frantically waving goodbye in the back, like, from her house.
From her house, wave bye. And Michelle turned around in the black cab and waved bye back.
Yeah,
and then they went to a scene with Vincent. So she didn't even get a duff or anything.
Yeah.
She just got
not been mentioned since.
No.
So obviously Michelle has now gone. So the next day, Sharon's straight onto her new best friend.
I was going to say Sharon needed a new best friend then, didn't she?
Yeah. I mean, a year ago, her and Linda were best friends, and then Michelle came and they suddenly dropped to the Linda and Sharon best friends situation.
Well, Linda became jealous when Michelle first was introduced, didn't she? And they
never did anything that story.
No,
either,
they
did
didn't, because Michelle kind of started a kind of competitiveness about who could be a better friend to Sharon.
And she said, just because we've got a friend in common doesn't mean we have to be friends.
Yes. Oh my goodness, well remembered. Yes, I remember that. So they never really did anything.
Was never to be.
But maybe they're trying something. Well, as we said, so when Linda was bizarrely waiting for a bus at the bus stop.
This was just didn't make any sense.
It was a bit nuts, wasn't it? And a white van drove past into it's the world's smallest puddle. It's like the producers or the runners had produced that puddle by just getting a couple of buckets of water and just tipping it into onto the pavement. And
it's just silly.
Yeah, and Linda got splashed.
Yeah,
all down her front.
But then she went to Sharon's to get changed, but she lives across the road.
She doesn't live too far away, does she?
I know.
Maybe she wanted a bit of comfort, because when she was at Sharon's house and they showed the shot of the panning, and she was wearing Sharon's leggings, and which fitted incredibly well.
Was it Sharon's
or was it Phil's
or Louis or Dennis
or Dennis's? Maybe.
Or maybe Michelle left it upstairs in her spare room.
Oh, she might have, yeah, just
as a leaving present.
My favourite joggers. And she was wearing a football top as well, so presumably that was Phil's or Dennis's, because men, because of reasons. And and so then Mel knocked on the door, and Sharon was obviously busy upstairs on the loo or something,
having a drink,
having a dump, and she was like, "Oh, could you answer the door for me?" And okay, then no worries. And so she opens the door, and Mel comes in, and she talks about how successful the Easter opening launch week was.
I mean, is she talking about something different than what we saw?
Well, what we saw was the original launch night, which was Good Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't Good. No, it was Easter Monday, wasn't it? Because Good Friday was the epic dinner. Or was it? No, Easter Monday was the epic dinner.
I can't remember.
Oh my goodness!
They all merged into one of those days.
Easter Monday was the epic dinner, and then it's not a religious holiday at all. So again, Mel said about this Easter breakthrough. It's like, well, it wasn't even Easter by that point.
Yeah,
when
and she said the pub seems quiet.
Yes, from the outside. I mean, what does she expect to see from an outside pub?
I mean, if Mel's so busy in her club, how come she has all this time to look in the pub?
Moonlighting. She's checking out her competition.
She always starts her conversations with female characters like on a really off foot, doesn't she, Mel? Because she upset Kat the other week by saying something a bit off.
I mean, I think they're making Mel into a bit of a doesn't trust women and better friends with men kind of situation. She's obviously been hurt in the past. I mean, when Mel said to Linda and Sharon, oh, you should come into the E20 this afternoon and have a drink on me, and we can, businesswoman to businesswoman, and we can discuss it. And before Linda turned up, before Mel turned up, Linda asked Sharon a few questions about Mel. And even Sharon said, the Mel I used to know before she left is very different to the Mel that's here now. She's become quite cold and hard and a very confrontational person. Not the Mel that left the soap a few years back.
She is, though, because I thought that, because I remember Mel being, I don't know how, I remember her being a bit softer. Not quite so, she's quite hard-faced, isn't she, now? And I do remember her being a bit softer back then.
I mean, I think she was less business minded then as well, wasn't she? She tended to be more kind of.
Well, she's evolved to a modern woman since 1999, 2001.
Well, quite right. People do change, and it's nice that her character has changed. There's nothing worse than reintroducing someone who's exactly the same.
Well, that was all happening because they were in the pub waiting for Mel, because Mel's running late, wasn't she?
But they were in the E20.
Yeah.
You say running late. She probably was running on in good time, but then she had to make it from the entrance of the E20 down the stairs. So,
Michelle got down there really quick on her last day on set.
Well, famously, we now know it takes about 5. Well, it's actually dependent on what the situation is. If they need to hurry the story along quickly, then they get down to the bottom of the stairs within seconds. If they want a bit of a pause, then they take about 2 minutes.
And Linda was having a real day of it because she then magically spilt her wine on herself.
With the red wine as well.
I don't know how she spilled it.
But if you watched it...
Is it because Woody polished it? The glass?
Maybe. I thought you actually meant how it was acted.
Oh, no, it was acted really badly as well. But I just don't understand, because she was just on the table and then she's...
But it slipped out of her hand, didn't it? When she put it down on the table, she didn't put it fully on the table, and so then it fell back onto her. And then Mel was came and saw her and said, "Oh, I see you've had another accident." And it's like, "Oh dear,
oh poor Linda."
I mean, why are they making Linda into this kind of?
I know she used to be quite a strong, nonsense.
But again,
woman,
at the beginning of this, she was very, she was quite jealous of Mel, and it's like that's not like her, because she's always known that she's had it good.
Yeah, well, ever since the Whitney Mickney storyline, as it's known, she's been a bit jealous of a few things, hasn't she?
I guess so.
Interesting.
I mean, not to bring up a quite a dark storyline, but when Mick and Linda, when Linda came back and decided that she'd had enough and just bad things happened in threes, and she tipped that the bowl of water over herself. Like, Mick was being quite...
Is that why she did it? Because bad things happen in threes? Bad things happen in
threes, so she just wanted to get out of the way.
I did wonder. I was like, why? No, at least they finally got to go to bed together.
Well, yes, but that's the point.
This time.
Yeah, that's true. The curse is lifted. But it was, it was reminiscent. Don't forget when she had that very dark storyline with Dino, it was on the kitchen table. I mean, with that... Would she still be comfortable with the kind of closeness like that in the kitchen?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a few storylines that they've tried to give Linda, and obviously the actress got pregnant and then they had to write her out and things. But there's loads of storylines they've sort of forgotten, because she was bulimic.
Yeah, but these were all associated with Dino.
Oh, yeah, but and then when she left, she said she had cancer. Well, she left and stayed with her mum.
Well, that was a lie. We discovered that was a lie.
Was it a lie?
Yeah, it was a lie, because she couldn't stand being... Which her and Mick's relationship was slowly falling apart. So she was lying so she could spend
it's all
time
very
away
messy,
from it.
the character of Linda at the moment.
Well,
I
but
feel.
also Mick and Linda had counselling, and that seems to have just been forgotten as
Yeah.
well. I mean, it's nice that the Linda, because Linda and Mick character was always the cornerstone, really. As we've discussed before, you know, whoever's in the Vic is always going to be the nucleus of the whole East End family. And it's nice that they're back together and they're much happier now. But as you say, the darker times, I suppose maybe they found a common ground with the fact that this whole the Aiden thing happened, and they both kind of got together and fought off Aiden together, and they became a much more stronger unit because of it, and so that's made them. But I'm glad, as you said, I'm glad that they're now having sex. And but you know, we were saying earlier about the Michelle, Sharon, and Linda. Perhaps the new friendship three-way will be Sharon, Mel, and Linda.
Yes.
And it will be a competition because
3 business women together.
Because I think that's also another reason why Linda's a bit that Mel's is able to put her back up so easily, because I think because she asked Sharon, she said, "Why are you friends with her?" And Sharon said, "Oh, you know, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer."
Well, she's become best friends with Linda.
but obviously Linda was a bit jealous of that.
Yeah.
She almost accepted the Michelle friendship, but as soon as Michelle's gone, Sharon's now looking for another third friend.
Sharon's like the popular girl at school.
She
Everyone
is.
wants to be friends with.
She's with the popular guy as well, Phil, you see.
God.
Very fickle is old Sharon.
So that was, I mean, she got puddles splashed on her, then she got wine, then she poured a bowl of water on herself. Ridiculous. So going from one ridiculous storyline to another,
But yes,
we were reintroduced to Masood.
yes.
Again, after a lovely 2 weeks
It's
away.
been a lovely 2 weeks where the comedy where comedy died, and we've not had any kind of silly scenarios.
No.
I mean,
and then, like the first scene that we see him is him cooking samosas. So you know it's gonna.
Samosas are back, and they're more popular than ever.
See, people moaned about the chess storyline.
I know, samosa chess. They're the two storylines. I mean, at least the chess storyline had legs, and it still has
Exactly,
legs.
yeah. It
Well,
led to Joyce's death.
Yes, it did. Well, it led to a
And
very
I
sad
could-
story.
Yeah, but this samosa one, obviously Masood now wants to start up a market /
Well, street food.
even though he's already
food.
done that before he left with his curry.
He did do it with his curry, and something that seems to be forgotten is that there was a storyline at the time of when he was starting up his curry business that he needed the council to come visit his kitchen to make sure that it was grade A 5-star hygiene rated. But now he seems to just make these samosas in his little home kitchen, his little oven where he makes industrial amounts of samosas. So his electric bill or his oven must be worn out already, and no one seems to mind. I suppose if he's selling it through an outlet, perhaps it's a different situation because he still is selling them through Beale's, isn't he? Beale's Chippy.
Yeah, is he still selling them there? I don't know.
Well, he still
I
works
can't
there,
remember.
and and I think they had that bit, didn't they, with Ian where he was pretending that they were his samosas, and then
with flags in them and stuff.
Yeah, and
all sorts.
No. He started putting flags in his fish and chips because it was this is when he got off his flight, and he said this is a British fish and chip shop, and we don't sell samosas in an almost anti-race way. You know?
And we also got reintroduced to Masood's ice cream truck, which he came back in a few months ago, which we all thought we'd seen the end of.
Well, he was sleeping in, even though he owned his own house. And he has to ask for permission from his uncle and aunt to sleep in.
I know. I mean, has he just left that ice cream truck there all these months? And he went back and he seemed surprised that it was in a bad condition.
Well, first of all, I'm surprised there were no parking tickets. Because I know it was abandoned in like the middle of a field, but you think there'd be like on a police, when they put those signs on there, police aware.
They?
Oh yeah, of course they must
Tiffany
have.
took them there by accident.
So why didn't they tow it away?
Oh, I don't know.
Because
why was he surprised there was no tyres?
But I was about to say they didn't tow it away because there were 4 tyres missing.
Oh.
So he's got this grand plan, which he revealed to his uncle Ashad, which he is going to bake samosas and then sell them as a street market seller, a la The Apprentice, where he is going to from his van where he's going to make his fortune, because every week prior to this, Masood is always thinking of ways of making money. He's like
an unfunny Big Mo.
He's like an unfunny Big Mo. He's like an Asian Ian Beale.
Yes.
So that's where the storyline begins, where him and Ian, well, I say begins, it's continuing, where him and Ian are clashing often because they're both almost so similar that they're almost just so pig ignorant to not to see that they're so similar that they want to always
poor Kathy stuck in the middle.
Well, Kathy's stuck in the middle because she loves Ian Beale, and I'm presuming
possibly, yes,
she's going to start. Well, she always sticks up for Masood against Ian's wishes. But anyway, so in order to get Masood's business up and running, Masood needs to find ways of buying tyres. So he speaks to Keanu. Keanu was the go-to man, wasn't he, this week for any kind of mechanical work behind Phil's back.
Yeah.
And
apprenticeship's going really well.
Yeah. Well, he's doing. Well, it's not an apprenticeship, isn't it? It's because he did.
He did his training. Yeah, okay.
But he seems to be doing lots of little jobs behind Phil's back, using Phil's garage.
Well, not very well. Phil's always there. How are you going to sneak in a cut? Oh, anyway.
Well, Hunter was able to be on the swings and meet.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The secret swings.
The secret swings outside the garage.
So we had Masood and Ian and Kathy in the fish and chip shop with one newspaper.
Well, prior to this, Masood needed to make money in order to get his tyres, so he goes to Big Mo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because his uncle tells him that who's the one person who's going to be able to get you money quickly. It's that sneaky one over there, Big Mo. Why didn't you go speak to her? And
see, you can tell I tuned out quite a bit during this story.
Lucky one of us is paying notice. He goes to Big Mo, the Slater's house, where he's welcomed by Stacey, who's like, we're not here for another reading, for a reading, and it's because she's not doing that anymore. So I think every day of the week they kept referencing back to this psychic thing. Anyway, he walked into the lounge and she's doing the cat camel position, which I have to say was incorrect. And
I thought it was a downward dog she was doing.
I beg you're right, it was a downward dog. So they might have been correct then.
Yeah, come on.
Oh dear. Then I turned off and didn't pay attention. You were looking at Big Mo's bottom, weren't you?
Yeah, that's all I can pay attention to.
Full moon. And so he says to her, can you get me some money? Knowing full well that she was going to do something a bit sneaky.
I know, because she even said to him, how do you want to be off? How do you want to be known that you're dead?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And he's like, Mo, you know that people know you're a con artist. People aren't going to believe you.
Yet he's there asking her for help.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So he's kind of part and parcel with it. So she starts him up a GoFundMe page.
Yes. She learnt that from Martin, I'm assuming. But she didn't know how to do that herself last time.
No. Well, you say that.
She's a quick learner.
Well, you say she can't start up a GoFundMe page. A month ago, she was able to start up a video online telepathy business. So I don't know. She's got lots of little sneaky tricks under her sleeves. And she lies on this GoFundMe page, which Masood doesn't decide to check and have a look. He just sees the money.
He just sees the money, and that's all for him.
Yeah, and until
we got that scene when Honey comes in and buys some chips.
She does. So two kids meals.
Yeah, when they were doing that and she was acting all like didn't want to touch anything. I wondered. I thought, if they made a new storyline for Honey where she's becoming like what's it called? Like when you don't want to have germs on you.
Yeah,
and stuff. I was like, are they introducing a new storyline for Honey? But no, they weren't.
Well, you seem to have this thing this week that you're almost hopeful that there's these storylines.
I'm hopeful for Honey.
Well, you're hopeful that they've got these storylines that they're not telling you about, and they're just kind of sneakily just plopping into the soap, and they're just going to reveal it.
You'd hope
online at the end of the episode, saying, "Oh, by the way, Honey's got a fear of germs." Oh, good. That explains it.
I thought. Why is she acting strange?
Well, it seemed a bit strange that the GoFundMe page had literally just gone up online and Honey had spotted it.
There.
Do you reckon she gets like email notifications from GoFundMe?
Yeah.
Your friend, someone you might know, has a GoFundMe page today.
Well, Big Mo might have put it on her Facebook, and then Honey might be friends with her.
Oh, see, this is when you start. Do you reckon Big Mo's got a Facebook? She's got an Instagram.
She probably has a fake Facebook. It's probably not her.
Mm.
She uses a different alias.
As long as she's got a blue tick, it's real. So she tells the world that Masood has got worms of the brain and that it's highly contagious and that although the operation is free on the NHS, he has to be off work for a certain amount of time, and he needs money. And with this information, he makes £500 within a matter of a few minutes. You can literally see the number rolling up.
I know.
As they're sitting there looking at it.
And even when he finds this out, he's not straight away wanting to get rid of it either. Like, Kathy has to convince him.
Well, she convinces him it's fraud.
Yeah, and it's like...
And even then he's like, yeah, but they don't need to know. And it's like, well, yes, if they find out, you'll be put in jail. And he's like, okay, fine. So
if they found out, the whole of the square would not let him in to shops and things like they did to the Slaters.
I wondered why they didn't ride it out a little bit more, because that's the kind of funny situation that Masood would get himself into, and he'd go into the, like you say, the Minute Mart, and someone would be like serving, maybe Honey again would be serving him, and just be kind of like saying, oh no, don't worry, I don't have to pay for that. Or going into cafes and Tina's like giving him a bacon sandwich and kind of throwing it at him or something like that. I mean, it could have gone a lot further, I suppose, but I'm glad it didn't. But it could have been easily solved, the situation, if it just read the page that Mo had set up for him. I mean, he knew this page had been set up, so you think you'd kind of proofread it before you go any further. But in all television tropes and all kind of films, in order to cancel the GoFundMe page, all he had to do was press one button, and then...
Oh yeah, and the money like trickled down to
it
zero.
even made a sound effect as well. It was like... like a game show, and that's how
bizarre.
Easy it is to refund people money on GoFundMe. So there you go. So
that was his dream shattered there.
So that was Monday where his dream was shattered.
Well, that was only Monday, was it?
It was only Monday. And then on Tuesday, as you rightly said, he bought the only copy of the Wolford Gazette, as he made a point of telling the Square that it was his newspaper.
Yeah.
I mean, if he ran a newspaper publication, then he wouldn't need to go to this.
No, because Ian was like talking to Kathy about the advert, and she goes, "Well, you have to let him know it's his paper." And it's like, what do you mean his paper? Is there only one paper in the Minute Mart?
I mean, it makes some sense for you to say, that's your glass of water, or that's his, that's his this, and it's his paper. But then when he then later referenced the paper as it being my paper. It's like he's saying this is my publication and you can't have anything to do with it. It's just ridiculous.
So the advert, before we go talk about the advert, actually, there was a scene before that where Ian is talking about paint for the new restaurant.
Yes, he wants it to be the same colour as Mel's Club.
And it's like really expensive paint or something weird.
Well, not just that. It's a bit creepy that he's trying to make his restaurant
like part of E20.
Look like E20. It's not even...
I don't know what that was hinting at for the future.
Well,
it's a bit of a weird...
Well, when he came back, he said he was going to get Mel back. And then they had the curry night and the first humiliation of Ian, Beale and Masood. And, since then...
Well, that's not hardly going to get Mel back, is painting his restaurant the same horrible green as E20.
No, I suppose it's his way of saying, look, I've got the same expensive paint as you.
Are all the new sets going to be the same green?
Aubergine, not aubergine, is it? It's courgette green.
Yeah. It's like the BBC bought like a bulk load of that paint. Now they have to use it.
Now they're refitting the whole square. They have to start using the green.
But that advert was for like a businesswoman giving out her money for new businesses, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was
in the newspaper
sponsoring or kind of like giving out
almost Dragon's Den like.
Yeah, she's giving out funds so people are able to. It's almost like a Kickstarter of the business, a bit like GoFundMe, just a businesswoman, and it's professionally done. And Ian hides it from Masood, thinking that by doing that he's guaranteed to get this funding. And Masood, because it's his paper, he then also sees it. And so they both decide to then make it into a competition of who's going to end up getting the funding for their business. Obviously Masood's being the samosas.
Yeah, I don't know what Ian's business proposal is.
It was to reopen Beale's.
Oh,
yeah, it was to reopen his burger joint. I'm presuming
the one that caught fire and had a death in. Almost 3 deaths in.
Almost became a Minute Mart as well, a Minute Mart Maxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of, I don't want to, because it's one of the main stories with, it was a kind of then just plodded along after that.
It was so stupid because he said, they got the times wrong for Masood's appointment, so we had to close the chip shop early.
Yeah,
And he said,
had
"Oh,
to-
well, you can only close it early if you make this much money."
Well, you make the amount of money you would have made
Oh.
on a Thursday at the chip shop.
And he's like £30 short, and his uncle gives this big, long speech, and he's like, "Oh, I'll give you the £30.
You have to,
Use
you
your
have
own
to,
money to get money."
Yeah.
And then, ridiculous, Ian then locks him in the back with a broom.
Why no? I don't know.
And surely there's a fire exit back there.
But he was taking the bin bag, presumably, to the bins
Yeah.
at the back of the fish and chip shop. Like, I don't think you would put. I don't think you would just leave a bin full of
Like
waste,
fish.
yeah,
in the back.
yeah, like food waste in the bag in the back where the
Yeah.
fresh food is kept.
And the broom was really like wobbly, like put on under the door. It's
Mm.
just silly. But luckily, Kathy was there.
Luckily,
to,
Kathy was there walking
thank
past,
God,
just in time, just to see what was going on.
she came back for the dead for this sort of stuff.
she
This is
did.
the storyline she came back for. So they both managed to get to the meeting, didn't they?
Well, they did. They were both sat waiting for the meeting at the same time. And I think, just as a side note, we should discuss some of the other business proposals
I
that were
know.
waiting at the time. So we saw there was the inflatable bongo drum business.
What was that business?
I don't know. She just came out. She came out of the office
Yeah, it was
with
like a-
bongo drums and
a
like inflatable
banana,
cherries.
or something, or
Yeah,
a
banana.
pineapple.
I mean, did she feel like she was the first woman to discover inflatables?
Weird.
It was a very strange proposal. Perhaps it was that Hawaiian bar that Woody was discussing with
Yeah.
Billy earlier.
Themed nights. Maybe she
Theme-
sells props for bars for themed nights.
See, there's us mocking her, and it's a perfectly good idea.
Yeah.
But
Who
then,
else was there?
but then there was Lederhosen Man. So presumably
Mhm.
he's either selling Lederhosen or some kind of German-themed beer
or
restaurant.
a band.
No, you
Maybe.
couldn't. You
I
couldn't.
don't
As a
know.
band, ask
It
for
might
money.
be a one-man band. Well, Masood's asking for money for his samosas.
Yeah, but it's not a band, is it? A band's an
Yeah.
art, isn't it? Your business people don't tend to put money into art. I mean, he looked hopeful. He looked like he had a bit of a chance because he went full whack. I mean, Ian or Masood, they didn't go like
No,
Masood
just
didn't
in a
turn up in
suit.
all Indian dance fare because I reckon he would have had a good chance if he'd done a little.
Well, he had a
dance.
good chance anyway, apparently.
Well, he did. So after the inflatable business. Let's call her inflatable fun. She left. She called in the next candidate. Now, again, you think she would have a timetable in front of her with the people's names of who she's seeing?
Yes, I
one
thought
after the
this
other.
when I first watched it. So then, obviously, I've rewatched it, and she goes, "Can the person for 2:00 come in?" So it's like,
And
surely
also,
you
if she-
know who's next on your
Yeah,
list.
and also if she's this big tycoon business woman, would she not have like a mediator, an in between, like a
Yeah.
receptionist, or just
She
someone?
needs one because she ain't got a clue.
Well,
has she?
I know. I don't know how she made her money. She makes my
So-
foot itch.
Mhm.
So she.
And before this happened, they had a little argument and then dropped their folders on the floor, didn't they?
Yes, well, again, they were
Ian and
arguing,
Masood.
bickering. Yeah, Ian and Masood were bickering about something or another. Again, so uninteresting and irrelevant that I can't even remember what it was. And
Samosas, let's
it
just
was-
say.
say samosas. Maybe they're bickering over.
Samosas or chess.
Yeah. Who loves caffeine more? And they drop their folders because they both want to look at their proposals one last time before they go in. That was it. And they were like, "Oh, I'm going to look at my proposal. No, I'm going to look at my proposal." And they drop their proposals and they pick up each other's. So it's a bit of a old.
In the exact same folder as well.
But it's in the exact same
It's
folder.
just
And then
ridiculous.
after they've done that, even though they said they were going to look at their proposals, they then didn't look at them.
Because they just dropped on the floor.
Because they just dropped on the floor, and it was maybe they were trying to keep it secret from one another.
Mm.
But I think Masood would have known straight away what Ian's was about because he was quite open about
Yeah.
talking about paint colours and the new restaurant in front of him.
Mm.
Anyway,
Bizarre. So Ian went into his 2:00 meeting.
yes,
Didn't get a chance to say the first bit of his pitch.
No.
So then the woman still didn't know what was going on. She just wanted to sit and read it.
she just wanted him to stand in
Sit
front of her
quietly, yeah.
while she sat and read the proposal.
And she was very impressed by Mr. Masood.
Yes, which at first
Again,
I thought
alarm bell. No?
Well, at first I did think that, and then I thought, well, no, hang on. Masood's uncle and auntie do adopt, and presumably they would adopt all race, creeds, and colours and all that. So if they were to adopt and take the name,
Yeah, but you
perhaps
wouldn't call
Ian-
him Masood.
But you might if you adopted them at a young age. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
likely,
No.
but it's possible that could have happened. But I would anyway. So yes, but Ian doesn't correct her, does he? Because he
No.
realizes that perhaps
She's quite enjoying the
the experience.
the samosa street.
Yes. So
Best.
apparently this idea's got legs. It's the best idea since sliced bread.
Well, you could have fooled all the fans of EastEnders. 'Cause
Well-
the past few months, no one's like this.
I mean, yeah, but
Samosa.
we've had it stuffed down our
Yeah.
necks for the last
That's
month
true.
or so. Like she's fresh eyed. She's brand
Yeah.
new to the game. She's not seen Masood's trek into the world of samosas. You know, the tires and the van.
Lucky her.
I know. I envy her. I wish I was her. So she liked the idea. And Masood's outside waiting a bit longer, and finally opens the folder to realise that actually he's got Ian's proposal.
Yes.
And so knocks on the door and says, doesn't explain it either to her.
No.
She's like, excuse me, I haven't finished yet. And he's like, yes, well, you have with him.
Yeah.
Can I take him out, please? So, if he just calmly had explained the situation, perhaps it could have been a lot more easier for
But
her.
If Michelle calmly explained her situation, it would have been easier.
Well, it wouldn't have taken 2 days for it to be solved, would it? It would have taken half an hour and a quick trip down
Exactly.
to E20. But so Ian was first to propose to Masood that they actually maybe do it together.
Yeah,
And
partnership.
A partnership.
She
And-
loves that idea.
well,
2 heads are better than one.
well, no, Masood didn't want to do that.
No.
Masood was like, no, you're not doing that. Goes in there. Then she says to him, well, if you do a partnership, I'll give you twice the money.
Oh, yeah.
Now-
Partnerships get double the money.
double the
Okay.
people, double the money.
Two
And
people that hate each other working together is a great idea.
yeah,
for
fantastic.
her.
I mean, Masood, let's be honest, pound signs rolled into his eyes at that point. I don't know what he was, why he needs double the money. If he's proposing because he was proposing to give like 30% of the business for this certain amount of money. So he obviously had a business plan for that amount of money. Does he really need to push his business that quickly forward in order to work with his arch nemesis and soon to be son-in-law Ian Beale?
Oh, God. But yeah, they ended up sort of agreeing because the uncle was the mediator in between and sort of convinced them.
But don't cut your nose off to spite your face.
Yeah.
One of my favourites.
So they went ahead and I'm assuming
Went forward
made
and
a
did it.
deal with her.
Well, yes, because Ian, when he got home, Kathy asked, how was it? And he said, I got the
Mm.
money. And Kathy's like, great. Did Masood? Yes, but it means we have to work together. But then Ian said,
Yeah.
but I'm going to make sure that I don't
Get
have
rid
to
of him,
get
yeah,
rid of
or-
him and don't have
Yeah.
to.
And Kathy just didn't react. She just went, okay, carried on watching it.
Turned over the TV.
Yeah, so she doesn't seem to care that much.
But you also noticed something that was done very quietly is that Jane's bedroom has been knocked
Yes.
through.
I don't know how long
so-
that's been like that. They
I've-
haven't really shown that half the room for a while.
Not
have
at
they?
all. When Masood went to ask for time off, half an hour off at the fish and chip shop, the wall was still there.
No.
Yes, I'm
It must be
certain
the
of
camera
it.
angle.
Well, maybe, but why?
Well, poor Jane. She's completely gone.
Well, Jane's been forgotten from his life altogether. So
Get rid of her bedroom.
I'm surprised he didn't paint Jane's old bedroom, the lounge, into Mel's E20 blooming colour
Shrine.
green. So that's obviously going to be a continuing storyline for Masood. It gets him out of the way also
Joy.
for a storyline which we'll discuss a bit later with his uncle and auntie.
Yes, few new characters.
Yes. So there's new characters on the street, but I think now's the time we discuss an old character,
Oh, yeah.
one that we will always fondly remember in I'm Doing This Now.
Just do this now.
And this week we will be looking at a actor's reign, or a specific actor's reign as a character in the soap, because this character has been played by many actors.
Ooh.
So we shall be delving into the 2 years from 2013 until 2015 that Peter Beale was played by Ben Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
So
He was part of a Wolford calendar.
he
what I
was
remember.
in the fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Who else was in that calendar? Masood.
Kush.
Not Masood. Kush.
Dot. Was she in it?
Was Dot in
I
it?
think so. One of the older characters were, because they were like had cupcakes in front of their. They were naked. Weren't
Sonia.
They? Or was it Sonia?
It was Sonia.
One of the older characters.
She is dot mark too, let's be honest. So, Peter returned to Walford after his father, Ian Beale, just in case you didn't know, had invited him to the opening of Beale's. Soon after this, Ian had a breakdown and disappeared, while his sister Lucy took full control of Ian's businesses. Do you remember the Ian as a hobo storyline? He went missing for 6 months and then came back. Yes, he came back with this wiry beard and this it'd been 6 months, but it was like 10 years worth of hair growth. It's like Robinson Crusoe. It was fantastic. Now, once upon his return, Ian tricked Lucy, once he had recovered, to give his assets back to him, which angered Peter at first, but eventually he forgave him.
It's a lovely boy.
Upon Cindy, Peter's half-sister, returned to the square, he was eager for her to leave, as she knew a secret which he had kept hidden. He later revealed his discretion to Lola, Billy Mitchell's granddaughter, that he was responsible for his friend Gaz's death by pushing him to swim further out into the sea, and had not given up these details to Gaz's family.
Who's Gaz?
I don't know.
Is that an off-screen character?
I'm presuming this happened when he was
in Australia
away. Yeah, when he went with this like
when he changed actors.
When he changed actors for the 5th time. I mean, Peter Beale really is the Doctor Who of characters.
Even more than Ben.
Yes, but they shouldn't change Ben now. They've got it right.
Yes.
She forgives him. This is Lola, and they later start dating. Phil Mitchell and Ian are reluctant at first by this match, but soon accept it, and they move in with Billy Mitchell together. In April 2014, Lucy is caught taking cocaine by Ian, and in an attempt to help her, he tells her that she had always been his favourite, which Peter overhears. On that same night, Lucy was discovered murdered in the woods nearby, devastating the Beales and starting the year-long Who Killed Lucy Bill storyline. Now, do you remember the Who Killed Lucy Bill storyline?
I do, yeah.
If you don't, then what are you listening to this podcast for? I mean, that was a huge deal, wasn't it? I think that was the last big, and that was 4 years ago now.
It was
that
really
was
big.
That was
Lots
the last
of people
big
were.
storyline.
Everyone was talking about it.
That was the old
actually
tagline, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all talking about it.
But yeah, that was really big. It was everywhere, that episode.
And it ended on, obviously, the famous live episodes. The week-long live episodes. Now, while searching for the truth, Peter looks for support from Lauren Branning. She gets everywhere, doesn't she? Who, at the time, was Lucy's best friend and business partner. Now, we all forget, because Lauren had such a flourishing career as a photographer in the housing industry and development industry in Canary Wharf.
She took one photo once with Max.
And web building. Let's never forget.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything.
She built the website for Coco, or nearly built the website for
Coco and Sons, and then they changed the name or something like that. She had a property business with Lucy. They basically would buy flats.
And do them up.
A bit like Homes Under the Hammer. And then not sell them off, but rent them off. And they had quite a big portfolio, apparently, as well.
Sure.
So, I mean...
Where'd all that money go?
My point exactly. Where did
Lauren
that
spend it on
money
drink?
go?
Baby clothes.
I mean, the tax on alcohol nowadays is just horrendous. So, Peter and Lola's relationship starts to take a strain over his reliance on Lauren, and they break up over his growing feelings for Lauren, and also Lola's publication of a damaging article about her that she published in the paper. Naughty Lola. It was just basically about how she was a horrible teenager and she buried her father in the ground. Although Lauren had started dating Dean Wicks, she realised she loved Peter when he rescued Cat Moon from the house fire and stops Peter from leaving to live with Stephen in New Zealand. So
Lauren can never make up her mind, can she?
No, she always hops from one man to the next. I mean, the Cat storyline was interesting too. And if you think about it, that was the last time where Cat and Alfie was hovering about too. So everything seems to have come full circle these last 4 years with Cat and Alfie. Now, during the continued investigation of Lucy's death, Ian reveals that Peter was Lucy's drug dealer to Lauren, and soon after he had proposed to her, she had said yes. Ian disowns Peter for a short time, but Jane convinces him to let Peter move back in, when Lauren and Peter feel that they are being followed, but the investigator of the case, DC Emma Summerhays, Do you remember her demise?
Rest in peace.
May she rest in peace. Assured them it was a reporter. Now, she was a good character as well, wasn't she? I remember.
Emma Summerhays.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was
with
fantastic.
Max, wasn't
She was with Max just because everyone suspected Max as being the murderer.
Mm.
And she was kind of undercover, but then fell in love with him because everyone falls in love with Max.
She was the first one to find out who did it.
She was, and phoned him.
Or
her. At the beginning of 2015, Peter discovers Lauren is pregnant with his child. Lauren learns that Lucy was murdered at the Beale home and shares this with Peter, meaning it had to be either Ian or Jane. However, they learn it was Bobby, which Jane has been covering up the whole time. After fighting, having to live with the secret, he feels he could not live on the square anymore and announces he will leave to New Zealand to live with Stephen. He invites Lauren to join him, and after initial rejection, comes round to the idea as she decides not to leave to go to Devon with her mum, Tanya, but to join him. The final time we saw Peter, he had brought a baby grow from the market to give to Lauren before their departure together.
Oh.
And that was that. And
since he's been gone, he's been
very
a drug
busy.
Addict. Well, not in real life. I mean, Peter Bill in New Zealand.
Yes, I was going to say.
Not the actor.
Ian went. That's where Ian's just returned from, isn't it?
Yes.
He came back
Oh,
from
so I'm
seeing
assuming
his
Peter's
son.
doing a bit better now then. Now that
I don't know.
Ian's gone to see him.
If Ian turned up to visit me, I'd probably be like, I'm going off for a bender for a weekend. I'll see you soon. So anyway, that's Peter's storyline, as in those 2 years was played by Ben Hardy. So what is Ben Hardy doing now?
Lots.
Absolutely. A year after leaving EastEnders, Hardy was cast as the winged mutant Archangel in 2016's X-Men Apocalypse. And from there, he stayed in Hollywood for further films. The first, he portrayed writer John William Piladori in a romantic period drama about Mary Shelley's inspiration to write the book Frankenstein, from her relationship with poet partner Percy Shelley in the film Mary Shelley. He later took the role of firefighter Wade Parker in the biographical drama Only the Brave. Wade had lost his life along with 19 other firemen in the Yarnell Hill fire in Arizona. He also took a rest from the States and played King Arthur in the third episode of the third series of Comedy Central's Drunk History. 2018 is proving to be just as fruitful for Ben, as he is in production for 2 more projects. Now, both of these sound fascinating when I was looking into them. Honestly, I'm asking you now, can we go see them both?
No.
The first one's a film, and he's playing drummer Roger Taylor. Does that ring a bell? In another biographical film, Bohemian Rhapsody, exploring the 15-year rise of the band Queen from their conception up until their famous 1985 Live Aid performance. That's due for release on the 2nd of November. That's in the UK and the United States. He's also in an adaptation of Wilkie Collins' gothic mystery novel, The Woman in White. Now, in the BBC production of the same name, he plays Walter Hatwright, an art teacher who finds a woman dressed all in white wandering around London and investigates her secrets.
So he's back on the BBC.
He's back on the Beeb. But both of them sound pretty cool, don't they?
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of both of them. Although Ben has a social media presence, perhaps sensibly, he's not using it very often. So actually, he has a Twitter and Instagram. He also has a Facebook, but he posts very few things on there.
Busy boy.
However, he's recently been caught promoting Marvel's new show on Netflix, which could be a hint for another future role. Now, like every week, if you wish to follow Ben Hardy on Twitter or Instagram or learn more, you'll find all this information on the programme notes or on our Twitter at Eastenders Week. And there you go. That is what Ben Hardy is doing now.
Just do this now.
Super.
Lovely. Busy boy.
Very busy. No chance of him coming back then.
No. That means Lauren can't come back with him.
Well, Lauren wouldn't want him if he did.
Well, she left with him, came back with Stephen. Now she's gone again. So
Which she was meant to leave with
Josh.
So
I'm assuming she'll come back now with
another man.
Peter.
Or a woman. She might turn gay.
Yeah, maybe. With Sonia.
yeah.
God. So we have discussed one of the characters who left this week. So shall we talk about the other character who's now left EastEnders, of Vincent Hubbard?
Yes, the little bit more of a shocking one, this one. It was a bit more of a surprise when we discovered it was happening.
No, I didn't know it was happening this soon. They said it was like in the springtime, but that seems like ages away.
It feels like bloody summer.
Yeah.
By the weather, sorry, in case you're wondering what I'm referencing, people listening. So it was a strange one, really, and one that didn't really have a proper ending. But I guess we'll talk about that in a second. So.
He had a lot of meetings this week, didn't he?
Lots of meetings. At the end of last week, obviously, his money problems had got on top of him, and he felt humiliated as well by Phil and Aidan, and so felt that he could kill almost two birds with one stone, get some money, and set them up, and get them in trouble, both at the same time. And so proposed a deal with DI Steve Franklin, with basically submitting information about them both. Now, as you said, it was a lot of back and forth. He would go meet Steve.
A lot of cafes, a lot of coffees.
A lot of coffees in the secret cafe, which they've done up, I've noticed. They've added a nice big window, and it seems a bit longer and a bit bigger now. And the variety of items sold in that cafe has gone up by, I would say, about 50%.
Oh, the profits are up because all the characters are there with all their secret
dealings. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So it's all good for them.
Absolutely. So I'm pleased about that. So he keeps going back then to the DI with information, and every time he does go back with them information, it's never enough. Never quite enough.
But we did learn from DI. What's his name? DI Hardy.
Steve Franklin.
Hardy. I don't know.
Steve Franklin.
I'm thinking about Peter still. He said something about Luke's body has been found in a canal.
Well, he showed Vincent because
showed him a photo.
A photo on his phone. But why you would keep a photo like that on your personal phone is beyond my. Yeah, well, we get off on it. Because Vincent says, "Oh, I know that Phil had shot someone." And Steve Franklin's like, well, we've got much bigger fish, or we've got bigger things we need to get them convicted of. And he's like, well, what's bigger than getting shot? And he's like that. Look at this picture. It's a man with his teeth pulled out.
With no teeth,
yeah. Decomposing in a swamp. And he's like, oh, right. So, I think it was at that point that Vincent realised that perhaps he made a bit of a mistake, and perhaps he shouldn't really play with Aidan. I mean, Aidan.
Well, he did sort of say, "I'd know nothing about this,"
but he did. But I think
desperate, wasn't he? He was like,
but he was willing to try to find out about it, and so then he started asking Jay.
Went round the.
Around the houses. So he asked Jay about whether he knew where he'd gone, and he asked the same to Mick. Mick was like, you really shouldn't be asking information like that. Goodbye. Because Mick knows, because Mick was there when Phil handed over the teeth.
I do feel sorry for Vincent. No one's helping him. Everyone went out to help Mick and Linda.
Yeah, I mean, Mick's gone out and had a word with his ear every now and then, but then this is again, it's Vincent's pride, because Kim has a word with him on Friday's episode, saying, we can get through this every day, one day at a time. You make a little bit of money, you work, I work. We make a little bit of money. On the second day, we make a little bit more. It just takes time. Yeah,
but if Kim said that to you, would you believe her? I mean, the way that she spends money.
Well, it was too. No, you're right, but it was too little, too late at that point. Anyway, I mean, Vincent had made his mind up, and he'd gone, far too deep at that point. But the realization that he had basically made a grave mistake doing this deal with the police.
Because this secret cafe wasn't too secret, because Phil Mitchell was outside parked and saw DC and Vincent leave.
Well, no, he saw Vincent leave the cafe, and then in the most non-inconspicuous way possible, the detective decided to get into his car and then flashes blue lights as he drives out from the thing. But for no reason.
Great, good one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he clearly hadn't been called on the radio to, but also he's a detective. So unless he was going somewhere really important, there was no need for him to flash his blue lights. So he made it obvious from the get-go. So really, if it's anyone's fault, it was the detective.
And Phil got on the phone to a mysterious.
Well, he said, "I'm probably the last person you want to hear, but we've got a problem.
We've got to talk,
yeah, we've got a problem."
So we're assuming that was Aidan. I think everyone is assuming that. And then the next day, Vincent then goes to meet DI. Whatever his name is. What's his name? His name.
D.I. Steve Franklin.
Him. He's now not there.
Well, he told him first of all that he basically, this is it. There's no deal. You can't give me the information I need, and that's the end of that. And then Vincent gets a text message from the same and 16 missed calls from the DI. I'm presuming from the same number because I don't know. You get the impression then maybe perhaps the detective Steve Franklin had been maybe kidnapped or been bashed about a little bit, to put it politely.
A new dark-haired,
much younger model came in
on the scene in the cafe.
I mean, I know we've had a quick chat about this, and I know that he made a beeline to Vincent in the cafe, but I do feel slightly that Vincent knew who he was, which is why, because there was a lot of talk that obviously that detective was not real, he was fake, and that he, but he was there basically as a ruse.
I think he's a real detective, but I think he's one of the detectives that
Aidan pays.
Yeah, Aidan pays off.
Right. Oh, okay then, because
I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's the same detective that, remember when the heist actually happened,
right?
And the police were all there, and then that blonde woman Kira came,
right?
And that policeman knew her, and she said, "Oh, get this all sorted out for me." I think that's him.
Right. Yes. Oh, well done, you.
I think.
Well, no, that's.
I think it's him. I think it's the same guy. So he sort of works for them and gets things.
He does a bit of underhanded stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a proper little sneaky snake, isn't he? He knows how to get into Vincent's mind, and he played it a blinder with saying that the original detective had been a failure and that he's a laughingstock of the station and that everyone knows he's no good. I mean, he played it very well. And
to be fair, he wasn't very good.
Well, no, he wasn't, because he was all and he was right when he said it to Vincent, that he was asking for Vincent to do something that was virtually impossible, something that really he shouldn't ask a member of essentially a civilian to do for him, and that's find information in a dangerous situation. So he convinces Vincent that if the stuff that he has already submitted would probably be enough to convict.
Go to court,
and so that he would basically give Vincent a call if everyone's happy, and that Vincent would have a very narrow window of 5 minutes to basically
pack up his
stuff and then get away. Now, prior to this, he had actually spoken to Kim and asked her, if we had an opportunity to leave, if we had an opportunity to get out of here, would that be something you would consider doing? And it was this point that Kim was a little bit suspicious of what's been... Obviously, she's been kept out of the loop again and what's been going on. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for Kim, to be honest with you, because she always says, just tell me what's going on and we'll get through this together.
Yeah.
And then Vincent doesn't do that. And then when Vincent gets himself in a desperate situation... Kim always seems to be the one who buries them out. I mean, today, on Friday's episode, she goes to the Minute Mart and lo and behold, they have a sale of DVDs.
Yeah, I've never seen DVDs in there before, ever.
A basket full of DVDs. And Honey was having a whale of a time, going through them with them. And, they seem to all be kids' DVDs, although we noticed that there wasn't a certain Children's Entertainers DVD in there that...
What, in the bargain bin?
In the bargain bin that should have been there.
Yes, Magic Marv.
So
he must have sold out.
Maybe.
Good seller he is.
He is. Well, he's entertainment.
Through the ages.
Yeah, timeless. And so she buys a Peppa Pig DVD for them to enjoy of an evening with Vincent.
All evening, she chose this one.
She chose Vincent's almost last evening. I mean, there's not a lot happened in a long space of time. Obviously, Vincent's leaving was meant to be the big storyline of the week, I think. But it's stretched to such a degree, it became quite thin. And the only impactful moment was the last 10-15 minutes where Vincent was panicked. And
he sort of made up his mind, hasn't he? No matter what Kim was saying to him. But
no, see, at the end, I thought he's leaving Kim, and that's that. But actually, no, he was bundled into that car.
Yeah.
In the end, but when he got bundled into the car and they went storming away.
Yeah, because that was the new DI, wasn't it?
That was the new DI. He basically was like, "Come on, we haven't got time to mess around. You need to get in." Pushed him into the car.
Sped off.
And then they sped off.
With
Phil watching. But then two very interesting things happened at the same time then. So first of all, Phil made the phone call.
To mysterious person.
Aidan. And as you rightly said, he basically has washed his hand from blood again.
Yeah. Well, they never want Phil to be a murderer, do they?
No.
In EastEnders, because
then
like,
he
a
has to
good
have his
guy.
comeuppance
Yeah.
at some point.
So he again said, "Oh, just rough him up a bit.
Mm.
Nothing too serious."
Yes.
I mean, he said that before with Luke, and look what happened there.
Well,
So
exactly.
surely he knows what's about to happen.
Yes. Well, and as we'll progress, something could have possibly bad happened.
Mm.
But then at the same time, because obviously in DVDs are dead art nowadays, and so that's why there was a sale of them in the Minute Mart, the DVD player at Kim's house
Yes, finally.
hasn't been used
No.
for a good few months. And she opens up the tray, and Pearl's hide-and-seek adventures had been revealed one more time, because the ring that they thought had been stolen and then gone missing is revealed
That's where
itself.
It was, yeah.
And Kim's like, oh, okay.
There's our money.
Yes. well,
25,000, I think. is
yeah, well, again, if it's £7,000 a month, that's only going to keep them going for another 3 months. So they're still not out of the waters yet.
Still.
But still, it's a way out for a short time. And so when she goes running out with the ring in her hand to say to Vincent that
She's found it.
she's found it, she sees that he's gone, and she shouts over to Vincent. She shouts over to Phil. She couldn't have shouted to Vincent. That would be silly. And she asks Phil if he's seen anything, and he said, "I've not seen nothing."
You're not suspicious at
No,
all.
not at all.
No suspicious answer. You could
I've not
say.
seen nothing. And so then
Yeah.
struts off past
back
her,
to his house.
back to his
Have
house
his orange
to
juice.
yeah, and his cup of tea.
And it then goes to Vincent being driven into some sort of abandoned, sort of warehousey type of area, isn't it? In the car with the two policemen in front, and you hear a gun.
We don't hear a gun.
Well, you hear a gun get loaded and pointed at him.
Wait, you see the gun getting loaded and pointed at him.
Yeah. Well, you hear the...
Yeah. And the detective turns around and
Stares
at him with the gun. And they seem to just use the same shot each time. It's like they've just got this stock shot, or the actor just didn't move the whole time. I mean, up until this point, I thought the actor was pretty decent, but then with his reactions of Vincent telling him all this information, he was trying to be all surly and angry. So anyway, Vincent said, "This is what I've been trying to say to you. I'm trying to explain to you that I'm not leaving now. I'm going to face responsibility here. I don't want to get Phil and Aidan in trouble," because he realised his mortality at this point.
Too little, too late.
Well, the fake detective just stared at him, and Vincent kind of realised
there's no way out.
There's no way out, so kind of just sat back, and then it just went to a blank screen, and so
it's very reminiscent of Paul Truman's. Exit,
Paul Truman's exit. He literally just got in the car and it drove off.
Yeah.
You didn't see what happened after that. But I mean, there's obviously two schools of thought here. Your school of thought is that he has been shot and murdered and is now dead. Well, my school of thought is that you're deliberately being left to not know what had happened.
But there's no way out of that situation with.
Well, there might be, because don't forget, Phil had phoned him to say don't rough him up too much. So I know that he said the same.
Oh, Aidan won't listen.
But
Aidan's wanted to get rid of Vincent the whole time.
True.
He kept trying to
but
kill Aidan.
What if it's not Aidan that Phil's on the phone to? It could have been another one of his friends. I know it's most likely to be Aidan. But so I don't think I would bet money that I think that Vincent has a possible return at some point.
No.
I'm not saying in the next few weeks. I'm not saying in the next few months. I'm not even saying in the next couple of years. I'm just saying that I think there's scope and an opportunity by the way it was ended for him to return.
The thing is, if you don't see them die on screen, then
exactly
there's always hope.
It's the jumping shark of the Dirty Den scenario.
Well, it would be sad to see Vincent go, though.
I really enjoyed Vincent. He was a slow burner, and his angry Jamaican voice was
we didn't
ridiculous.
get to hear that again, did we?
Well,
he did a little bit of a noise. When
he warned Phil,
gun,
didn't he? Well, yeah, but earlier when Phil was threatening him because he fixed his car, and then he gave Vincent, like, "Are you going to pay the bill? I'm going to keep the car." And Vincent then played in the recording, which was actually Vincent's demise, really, because if Vincent hadn't given his cards away quite so readily to Phil, I think Phil probably wouldn't have been quite so eager or keen to get rid of him quite so quickly.
He's got a lot to answer to, the old Phil Mitchell has.
Well, he has. He's done a lot in a very short space of time. And I mean, like, it's one thing to say, yes, okay, he's never, ever technically killed anyone, but he has caused a lot of harm to people. And I don't think that's right to say that he should not have any kind of comeuppance. I mean... One day. Well, as long as they don't do something where they threaten him via Sharon, because I don't want to see a shot of like Sharon in a wet warehouse with her hands tied behind her back with her mascara running, sober,
fake tan
sober, God forbid, waiting for Phil's phone call to stop the hit, as it were.
So yeah, who knows?
But yeah, so goodbye, Vincent. Sad. Yeah. Another one bites the dust, or maybe not.
Yes, who knows? Who knows? So there's a few other sort of mini storylines we had hinted at this week. If we start with the wonderful Woody and Billy.
Yes. So
storyline.
Yes. So it's
another hit this week.
Yeah, it's another. It was a very short-lived one. Obviously, Billy lost. Or was a manager for 5 minutes until Woody convinced Mel to make him the manager, and so
he still didn't know, even going into work.
No,
apparently that he was.
Billy thought he would be the deputy bar manager, and so felt that he still had the right then to organise the rotas and do the deliveries, and anyway, so to get under Woody's, because he was so upset with Woody, he hid Woody's keys in a toaster
and then set the flat on fire.
Yeah, why not? You know, something new, isn't it? It'd be far more interesting than this storyline. And because Woody felt a bit ticked off by Billy doing that, he then put salt in Billy's coffee, and this led to them having a fight where they were throwing limes at one another. And as it was happening, Mel came in and a lime got thrown at her. I know, not Mel.
Frozen, wouldn't you, if that happened? My goodness.
You'd be in a lot of trouble.
Don't upset her.
But ultimately, this then helped them kind of discover that they're actually not too different then.
No, they have a mutual...
Yeah, you're not so different, you and I. I mean, so Woody saw Whitney walk past. He tried his best to try to impress her, didn't succeed. Billy then took the mick out of him for trying. And then later on, Woody was quite innocently talking to Honey, and Billy took that as
you're flirting with her.
Yeah, the wrong end of the stick. And then Woody saw a vulnerable side which was similar to his own with Billy. So they've basically agreed
becoming friends now.
But they're not becoming friends, I don't think. They're
mutual respect
frenemies
for each other, yeah.
Frenemies. But there's not mutual respect either. I think it's just that they've both agreed that the one thing they don't play with is that trying to upset each other over their women. Yeah,
who both hate them.
Yeah. Although Honey, when Billy said, not my honey, you don't do that with my honey, Honey was taken quite aback by that, I think. I think Honey was she was a bit like, But, yeah, so I can see this turning sour again in the middle of next week or something, where Billy or Woody will do something to one another, and so then they will then try their best to try to get the other one's woman. It more than likely will be Woody will do it to Billy, because I think Billy hasn't got a chance in heck of ever getting Whitney.
Of course not.
Sorted.
I'm just looking forward to Woody's leaving.
I was about to ask you that. Yeah. Are you looking forward to Woody leaving?
Can't be long now.
I know. It's like you said last week, really, it's very difficult to put any kind of investment into Woody, because you know what's about to happen.
Woody's not going to be there for...
Not for long.
Much longer.
So, yeah. I mean, if it's... I don't think it's any surprise that Woody and Billy are... also, it's almost they're reflecting a very similar storyline to Ian and Masood, by the way, that they're both trying to get one up on one another, and now they're going to work as a team. And then
there's only so many of them you can take.
Well, that's true, and I think the original plan was probably to be the Billy and Woody one, but now that's kind of fallen to the wayside. Now Masood and Ian's going to be the main one. They're going to make more important. No, I know neither of them's more interesting than the other, but that's obviously the one they're going to go for.
So, other news this week, we had a little bit more insight into what's going on with Kat and Alfie.
Yeah.
With Stacey trying to interfere.
Yeah. It was only right at the end of the week where we saw the Slaters, really. So Kat became quite friendly with Arshad, with him pushing the baby Harley along, and she spotted him, and so you kind of saw that she's missing her kids, especially Bert and Ernie, because she offers to make some earrings for the Harley, and she says, this is what I used to do for Bert and Ernie. I made these for Bert and Ernie, and they loved them. And a dig at poor old Alfie, that he bought them both like a toy car, and they've stayed in the box the whole time. And Stacey is a bit inquisitive and asks, if you're investing so much time into doing this, why are you not doing this with your actual children?
It is unlike Kat, because those kids obviously mean so much to her, especially after what happened with her and Ronnie a few years ago. It's very unlike Kat to not want to have her kids near her.
Yeah, she's very maternal. I forgot about the Ronnie storyline when the baby swapped.
Yeah, so it's unlike her to be so willing for them not to be near her. So obviously something's up, and we obviously know that she's been avoiding Alfie's phone calls. Yeah,
so Alfie has been phoning her prior to this week, actually, wasn't it? Because then Stacey says...
Yeah, because she asked Big Mo about it as well, didn't she?
Yeah, and Stacey has obviously this week, after Kat had made the earrings and they had the heart-to-heart about her own kids, that she's obviously phoned Alfie to encourage Alfie to get in
Contact her.
Yeah, get in touch with Kat. So Kat quite rightly said, well, you didn't like it very much when I tried to interfere with you and Martin, which was with Haley, and so please don't interfere with my life. But then I think to get Stacey off her back, she then fakes a conversation on her mobile phone with Alfie, saying, "Oh yeah, okay, great. Well, right, then we'll meet up with you, and we can go out and do something with Bert and Ernie." And Stacey obviously thinks that this is all real, and Kat gives her a phone call to say that she's having pizza. She's down at the Pizza Hut having the $5.99 buffet, which you can't go wrong with, let's be honest. And unlimited ice cream. And Stacey believes her, and so thinks everything's fine.
Everything's all good.
But you see that Kat is outside the chicken shop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. We still don't know why.
Getting bits and pieces, aren't we? Slowly.
Well, we're not even getting information this week, to be honest with you. We just don't know. Nothing's really being shown. Kat's being very tight-lipped about what actually happened between her and Alfie. And
I imagine that's the next big. Now that obviously Michelle's gone and Vincent's gone, it's opening up a bit more space for the big Slater.
Well, yeah, 2 out, 1 in. They need to get
3 in.
Alfie back. Well, yes, there's been a few characters, but I mean, nothing's really been explored this week, other than the fact that Kat is now missing her children
and refusing to talk to Alfie still.
But because her denial and not wanting to talk to Alfie for one reason or another, which we haven't learned why, she's not basically prepared to build a bridge in order to see her children. But she desperately misses them. I mean, Stacey even says to Kat this week that even though Martin and I broke up, and at first he had the children and I didn't, I thought that was the best thing, I realised that actually the best thing for the children is for us to both get along together and have them look after them equally.
But Kat hasn't actually said that her and Alfie have broken up. She said that they're still...
But then there must be some animosity between them for why Kat isn't making any kind of formal connection with Alfie, and it's so big, it's such a big deal to Kat that Alfie has done something, or her and Alfie have split up for some reason, that she's not even prepared to kind of make any kind of contact with him for her own children. So it's going to be a doozy when it actually gets discovered, because Alfie's not even going to be a permanent character, is he? He's just going to come back
for a bit.
He's only coming back for a little bit, so it's going to be probably a big explosion.
Whether Kat's done something that's made her embarrassed, maybe it's not necessarily a breakup. Maybe.
Well, that's it.
Maybe it's something that she's done that she's.
Is it something Kat's done, do you think? Or is it something Alfie's done, do you think? Or is it something that they've mutually done wrong?
I guess because she hasn't got the kids, it must be something that she's done. Or
Is it?
She's been stubborn about something or something.
Yeah. Do you think it might be money related, or because obviously they had all that money?
We've had so many money related storylines.
No, I know, but they had all that money, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, again, that's not really been explained why all that money's suddenly disappeared. So
Don't know, time will tell.
Time will tell, but obviously it's going to be a big explosion, and we'll have to just wait and see.
I mean, speaking of the baby that Kat was making earrings for, we got introduced to a bit of a storyline about them as well on Friday with a new character.
Yes, so it kind of, we found out that Tiffany, having taken that Instagram photo, actually had a bit more of a meaning than we all first thought.
I thought it was a bit random.
Well, it was a bit of a it was random, but at the same time, it's something Tiffany does, isn't it? She likes taking photographs of herself for her Instagram account, and you just kind of wrote it off as that was that
Tiffany thing.
a silly Tiffany thing. She's just done that, but actually there was a lot more emphasis on it than we first thought. So a character,
dire consequences.
Well, we don't know that just yet.
Which I'm assuming.
But there's been a lot of knowledge in some circles that there's a character that was going to be introduced on Friday. And we knew that his name was Bijan, but there was never any information really leaked for what he was there for, other than that it was going to be maybe quite an explosive or big storyline for some characters. Now, really, if you thought about it and you put two and two together, you probably could have worked out exactly what it was going to be about, because we also knew that the baby that Ashad and Mariam had adopted, the aforementioned baby Harley, who's now got those fabulous earrings fashioned by Kat, is her birth mum, Chloe, is coming to the square to basically find her baby. So we saw that Bijan was kind of walking up Albert Square, down toward Bridge Street, and he looked at the Minute Mart, and you kind of wondered what was important about the Minute Mart. So when he gets to the cafe, you see his mobile phone, and he's got that picture. First of all, it's zoomed in on Tiffany, so you think, oh,
is he after her?
He's after her or something. Yeah, something strange like that.
Because I think he thought she had adopted the baby.
Yes, I think he thought that Tiffany was much older than she actually was. So upon inquiries, because you've discovered that the reason he knew that that his child was there was because obviously you can tag your location on an Instagram photo or any social media picture, and one of the tags was the Minute Mart Albert Square. So he goes around, starts inquiring to people about where he can find Tiffany. And so if he starts off with Donna, doesn't he? Because he's looking at a dress, and Donna quite suspiciously asks him if the dress is for him.
She wasn't giving any information away, was she? She was quite clever with her answering.
But she was quite rude to him. I know Donna's quite rude anyway, but like she
outright asked if he was a cross-dresser.
Are you a cross-dresser? And it's like, well, hang on, Donna, that's not really a very kind thing to do. But then he says, oh no, I'm looking for this girl. And Donna's basically like, well, yeah, you'll find her at the school gates because she's like 14 years old, and you really shouldn't be sniffing around for her. But then soon forgotten when he starts asking Mo similar questions, and she then thinks that he's after a bit of trade from Mo. Which Donna in this episode. I think he's thinking it.
And you see a pram in the background. And you think, well, that's who he's looking for. And she sort of walks past him, and he looks in the pram, doesn't he? And he notices.
Well, Mariam's, talking to the flower stall holder. And the whole time you see her in the background, if you've got a keen eye. And he's missing it. And then she kind of walks by, and he kind of double takes, and he looks in the pram. And so then you discover that, he's spotted her. So he now knows that he's in the right location. And he phones presumably his partner or his girlfriend, and tells her that he can't do this on his own. She needs to come down and help him as he's found their baby.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. I mean, it's a really interesting storyline, and one I can't remember anything like this ever being done before. And I'm so pleased with the characters they've chosen to give this quite meaty storyline to, and that is Masood's more interesting side of the family, which is the aunt and uncle. Basically not him, which is his aunt and uncle. Again, 5-6 weeks ago when they were first introduced and we were talking about them, we both said that actually we'd love to see a storyline an interesting storyline with
darker one with them.
Ashad and
Miriam.
You know, and I guess we've got our wish, and it is a really nice meaty storyline. I mean, they've had a few little ones, and they've all been centered around that they adopt. I mean, it's interesting. I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, because then
characters and things.
Because they, again, as we said at the beginning of the show, it's good by doing that. You can actually introduce characters quite quickly because there's always a link. Their child's there, so
it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I say, you know that they're drug addicts, so they're probably not great people, but then they may clean their act. So there's
always a softer side.
There's always a softer side. So this is something we'll learn in time. But it was nice that they actually didn't reveal the information about them too quickly either. It was good that obviously when he first got everything that's happened to him has happened in one episode, but you didn't know what he was there for until that episode had come to its completion. So, you know, nothing had been leaked prior to that. And again, we've been harking on for a while that they need to stop giving us everything that's going to happen in the soap weeks prior to it, because it kind of ruins any kind of surprise. So yeah, there we go. So in honour of then some new characters coming into the square and some old leaving, we're going to play a game which is very loosely based on what I've just said. So it's time to play Martin Fowler's 5 a Day. So are you ready for a quick game? A very quick game of Martin Fowler's 5 a Day?
Yeah. Well, it was only quick if I know the answer.
That's true. Right. So just to repeat the rules, I'm going to ask you a question and you must list 5 answers that relate to that question. After you give each answer, you must wait for me to tell you if the answer is correct or wrong. And you have 30 seconds to give me all 5. Okay?
Yep.
Oh God! You okay? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
So here we go. So on Friday's episode, we were introduced to the mysterious character Bijan. However, he was just one of many who have been introduced to viewers this year. Can you name 5 or more of them? Just to be clear, in 30 seconds, you need to name 5 characters who have been in the soap since January 1st, 2018. So who've been introduced to the soap since January 1st, 2018. They cannot be characters that have been in EastEnders before, and they must have been in at least 5 episodes or more. Okay, so incidental characters like Dr. Notley, who performed tests on Abby, children's TV sensation Magic Marv, and Blake, the stoned lad who Tiffany met and Whitney attempted to claw, does not count.
Okay. This is difficult.
Think about some of the subjects we've been talking about tonight. A lot of them, I'll help you along the way.
Okay.
So, are you ready then? Mm-hmm. So you have 30 seconds and your time starts now.
Halfway.
Correct. Introduced on the 1st of January.
Was he?
Mm-hmm. What about that couple that we were talking about just earlier?
Oh, Masood's aunt and uncle. I thought they were before Christmas.
Nope. Both were introduced on the 1st of January.
Oh.
Arshad and Miriam. Kira Maguire was introduced on the 2nd of January. You've got
Aiden.
One more. No, Aiden was before.
Yeah,
You've got one more to find. There's an obvious one. You're just not thinking about it.
Who's new? Not Woody. No.
Time is up. I mean,
it's hard to think by Christmas.
Woody was reintroduced,
before, wasn't he? Yeah.
So he was reintroduced, so he doesn't count as one. Time's up.
I know. I'm just trying to think.
There's an obvious one. There's an obvious one. There's kind of 2 obvious ones if you think about it. Like I say, you need to think of some of the people we've been talking about today.
Hayley
Slater was introduced on the 9th of February.
Yeah.
You could have had Daisy, the adopted daughter.
Oh, she hasn't been. Oh,
she's been in 5 or more episodes.
She's never talked.
She was introduced on the 9th of January.
No,
Daisy's the adopted daughter who painted the fence.
Oh, right.
And
I wouldn't count her as a character.
Hunter was introduced on the 6th of February.
I was thinking Mel, but then you said people that haven't been in it before. But yeah,
Hunter's never been in it before, other than inside Mel's tummy.
That was off screen.
Well, Hunter was introduced the 6th of February. Hayley, as you said. Mitch Baker, do you remember Mitch?
Oh yeah, of course. Was he in more than 5 episodes?
Yes, he was. He was in exactly 5.
Okay.
12th of March. And D.I. Stephen Franklin. He was
wasn't in that
introduced on the
many.
12th of April and he was in 5 episodes.
Okay, well that's not a character either. I don't count them as full time.
Well, there you go. So there's many, many, many other characters. I could have made a list of many, but that's why I introduced the rule of 5 episodes or more. So there you go. You
Lovely.
failed.
I
No
know.
points for Ben this week. Right, fantastic. So there you go. I think we're going to do just the Twitter poll this week.
Yes.
We did have a question, but we're running a
running
bit
over.
short on time. Yes, we are. Sorry. We genuinely
We'll save it for next week.
We'll save it for next week. We genuinely thought that this week we weren't going to have a lot to talk about, but obviously we've had more to talk about than we
Yeah.
first thought. So this week on Twitter, we asked you on the poll of the week, which female actress from EastEnders would get your vote for this year's Best Actress at the British Soap Awards. Obviously,
I know my vote.
we only stuck to EastEnders, but there's Best Actresses there's 3 in every soap.
This
that's
is to
been
get
up
to the shortlist, isn't it?
But this is for the shortlist, yes. So the 3 options that you have is Letitia Dean, who obviously plays Sharon,
Yes.
Diane Parrish, who plays Denise, and Lacey Turner, who plays Stacey,
Who always wins it.
who always wins it.
Apart from
And,
last year.
and on this occasion, won our poll too. So she was the most popular with 62% of the vote.
Of course.
Sharon, Letitia Dean was second with 22%. So she really took it away. But yeah, Letitia Dean was second, 22%. And Diane Parrish Denise was 16%. 37 of you voted, so that's fantastic. I mean, I was a bit surprised by that result because I know that there's a campaign going on for Sharon to win it, which we mentioned last week. And personally, I would love to see her, at least to get to the shortlist. I would love to see Sharon there.
No. She'd have to turn up to the award ceremony then. She doesn't normally turn up, Letitia.
I reckon she'd be on Skype and she'd be in like this really darkened room with a glass of champagne, just cheersing
on the
everyone.
set of EastEnders.
Yeah, no. She'd be on like a leather settee with like a throw on the back, and she'd just be wearing this really long dressing gown. She'd be there with her hair all pristine and makeup done, with a cigarette in her left hand and a glass of champagne in her right.
It's always Stacey, isn't it?
But I'm afraid, yes, Stacey. But and I mean, if there's more than 2 from EastEnders in the shortlist, then that's going to split votes, I feel. So really, you just need 1 going down the centre. So there you go.
Who would you put up as Best Actress if you were not going to nominate someone from
Of the
EastEnders?
3 that have been put up, or
any
anyone
of
at
the
all?
females.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Jane, and Jane had been in it long enough for her to be warranted to be put forward. Letitia Dean. I want Letitia Dean to win. I mean, it's a hard subject really, because it depends on whether you get the storylines, and I think that's one of the main reasons why Lacey Turner always gets nominated.
Yeah,
she always gets the
so
strong
juicy,
storylines.
doesn't she?
But I mean, next year, because Kat's being reintroduced, I would be very surprised if she wouldn't be in the
Jessie
shortlist.
Wallace.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Denise has done a lot of acting this year. She was in like basically the whole of last year, every episode.
She's a great actress, actually.
Yeah.
She is great. I would love to see her in something out of EastEnders. I would like her to do like a year off and then come back. But yeah, like I say, yeah, she's been given good storylines. I mean, Letitia Dean is a bit of a surprising one because she's always just kind of there.
She's not really had a big story this
No,
year.
she's
so
not
I don't
really
know
had
why
a
she's
huge-
suddenly nominated.
No, you're quite right. She had that
odd.
big storyline with the heist. She stole
She
the
wasn't
money.
really in it, was she?
But no, she
That
wasn't.
was like one scene.
But there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. So look out.
yeah.
Look out. If you're listening to this, it's very likely that the new poll of the week is up, ready for you to vote. So please remember to vote. You can follow us on Twitter at EastEnders Week, where we would love your questions, your comments. Let us know. We also tweet
We'll
live.
have time next week for questions.
We will have time
We'll make
next week.
time.
We tweet live during EastEnders. You can follow us on Instagram at EastEnders Weekly. We're also on email, eastendersweekly@gmail.com. Like I say, send us your comments. So there we go. So I'm just having a look out the window, and I can see someone holding up one of your Instagram pictures, looking and pointing at you. Who is this?
I'd rather not say. The theme to EastEnders Weekly was written and composed by Klaxon. He can be found on SoundCloud under KLAXUN. Thank you all for listening, and if you'd like to subscribe and leave a review, it would mean so much to us, as it really helps the word get out that we're around. If you have any topics or discussion you want us to talk about, you can email us at eastendersweekly@gmail.com or send us a tweet at EastendersWeek. We do live tweeting to every episode of EastEnders, so make sure you follow. See you soon.